take a breath whenever you're ready.
So, one of the more memorable or eventful experiences in my communication studies career also is the same story of the longest and most probably stressful report I've ever written. It was my third year of my communication studies degree, and I had taken an ethnography class. Most of my classes before this involved a lot of PR, marketing, business, sort of sales type of communications, the stereotypical type of communications class. But this one was very different from every other communications class I had taken because it wasn't focused on any of those things. It was focused on cultures, beliefs, and customs of different communities, and specifically observing them, reporting them, and publishing studies based on what you find. It's much more an academic sort of aspect of communication studies and completely different from anything I had ever done before. So throughout the semester, we were tasked with going out into the city of San Francisco and just basically people watching, observing different communities, observing different types of people, and most of all observing the environments they're in and how they act in and around them with each other. It was pretty weird at first, just people watching, and it was out of my comfort zone. Most of all, it helped me establish an identity in a culture and community that I didn't even consider was a community or culture. Before doing this class, I had been studying and practicing archery for about 6 years. It was just a hobby to me. It was something I did for fun, something I did to clear my head. But once I did this class, I realized that archery is a culture. There's definitely archers and people that are archers. We have customs, rituals, lingos, all that stuff I didn't really realize before taking this class. And so upon discovering this community that I had been a part of and didn't realize, I chose it to be my focus on my final project, which was to study and be involved with the community and culture and observe its customs and publish a report on it. I would go to the archery range, and besides just arching, I would go there and write field notes. I'd observe different people there, I'd go up and talk to them, and I'd establish a relationship. What I came to find out is that this community had already been established well before I ever went up and talked to them. So much so that they even had a name for me. Before I introduced myself, they called me the Civic Guy based on the car I would always drive there to the archery field. So studying them for a couple weeks and being involved with the community really helped me find a new sense of identity. I had felt more as an archer than I ever had before. And this is due in part because I made this my assignment and I made this my focus of my ethnography course. The most eventful part of the whole study and writing of the field notes comes in one particular day when I was writing a field note and everyone was shooting arrows, and a random person that wasn't a part of the community decided to run across the firing range while people were firing. It was at that moment when I realized how important it was to have a community and have a culture within this practice. All I heard was, "Clear, clear, clear, someone on the range!" And it was insane. It was chaos. But because they had an established culture, lingo, and community, they knew how to react like that. It was awe-inspiring to see. Instead of being scared and being, unsure of what was happening, I knew that there was a community and culture and lingo there to deal with the situation appropriately. They stopped firing, they surrounded the guy, they made sure he was okay, and more than that, they asked him who he was. That was his induction into archery that day. Later on, I would go back and I would see him back there, and I would see the archers helping him out, showing them the different techniques and methods of archery. Ethnography made me realize that communication studies is just as much about the people that you interact with as it is making deals and making sales. If not, the personal aspect is even more important. It's about the community. It's about identifying with a group of people and interacting with them. This report that I wrote ended up being 18 pages long. I submitted it into an undergraduate research program where it was accepted, and I ended up getting a perfect score on it in that class. So after submitting it to the undergraduate research program, it got picked up, and I ended up having to go to a conference that included all professors and colleagues in the communication studies program throughout universities in Northern California. My basis of talking to it in that conference was to let people know and to have people realize that culture isn't just the color of your skin, it's not the language you speak, and it's not where you're from. Culture is just as much the things you do, the hobbies you're passionate about. It was really that experience that changed my outlook of communication studies. It showed me a different side that I hadn't seen before.